We just took a look at some of the responsive design functionality that Material UI is going to provide for us. In this video, we're going to take that functionality and use it to apply responsive design to our header by showing a menu on smaller screens instead of our tabs. So let's head on over to the code editor and see how. Alright, so I'm here in the browser actually, and I've got my project running, so make sure you get your Strapi server running, and then once that's started, your Gatsby server running. And then when we're here, let's think about what will happen as we start to shrink this screen size down. Okay, and you can see since we set an automatic margin on the left and right of our tabs here, everything is being resized correctly. But when we get down to really small screens, you see that things are gonna start to do some weird stuff. They're gonna start to break, and this obviously is not what we would want. Instead of doing this, and instead of having our tabs across the top of the page, it's really common for mobile sites to instead add a button to open up a menu, and then have all of our tabs inside of there. That's actually called a drawer, not a menu. The way that we'll be using it here, this is going to be a drawer. So essentially a pop-up side menu coming in from off the screen. So let's open up our code editor, and I'm here inside of header.js. And the first thing we'll need to do is make sure that we only show the tabs for our large desktop screens, and we're going to display our drawer for our mobile smaller screens. So to do this, the first thing we're going to need to do is come up to the top, and we are going to import use media query from at material-ui/core/use media query. Now we can scroll down into our component, and right under our const classes equals use styles, I'm going to create our first media query constant. Okay, so I'm going to create a constant, and I'm going to call this matches MD. All right, and then this will be equal to a use media query. Now inside of here, Material UI is actually going to pass our theme into this query. Okay, so we're going to pass this a function, and then Material UI will pass that function our theme actually. So to do this, we'll create an arrow function accepting a theme, and we'll open that up. And we're simply going to return the value, so we don't need parentheses or braces because this will just be a one-line statement. And here we'll use the theme.breakpoints.down for medium. Make sure medium is in a string. All right, and just like that, we now have a constant matches MD that will be true or false if we are below the medium breakpoint. All right, so let's now come and let's grab our tabs here, and I'm actually going to cut our tabs out of there. And we'll come up underneath const of routes, and let's create const tabs and set it equal to a multi-line statement with parentheses, and go ahead and paste our component in like that. All right, now we can come back down to where it was, and we'll inject some JavaScript, and we'll use a ternary statement. So we will first check matches MD, and if that's true, then we're going to render nothing for now, because that will be our drawer. But if it's not true, so if we're not matching MD, so we're not below the medium breakpoint, so that would mean we're above the medium breakpoint, then let's render our tabs. All right, so let's go ahead and save that. Go ahead and save, and we can flip back on over to the browser, and everything looks normal for now. But you'll see as we start to shrink our screen down, as soon as we hit the medium breakpoint, look at that, our tabs have disappeared. All right, and since we set the margin on the tabs, that also moved our icons over, but that's okay because we will put something in place of that in just a minute. But you can see that we have just adapted our styles and our application based on screen size. All right, so that's really cool. It's a really awesome concept, and is something that we'll be using on all the pieces that we'll be building for this application. So now we don't just want our tabs to completely go away when we're at the medium breakpoint. We want to replace them with our drawer. All right. Before we do that though, I actually don't want to just add our drawer icon up here along with all these other ones, because I think that might get a little cluttered. So I'm going to go ahead and hide the account icon, and we'll go ahead and put a link to my account inside of the mobile drawer just to save some space up there. Okay, so that'll introduce another new component. We can go up to the top and we can import hidden from @material-ui/core/hidden. And this is going to allow us to hide certain components at certain breakpoints. All right, so we'll come down here, and instead of using a ternary statement, it's a little cleaner if we come down for this. And for the icon button wrapping the account, let's go ahead and you'll create a hidden component above it, and we'll want it to be hidden for the medium breakpoint and down. So pass the prop MD down. You can also do any of the other breakpoints, so large down or small down, or any of the other functions like small up, but we'll just go ahead and leave it at MD down and go ahead and open that up, and now move the icon button inside of there. Okay, so we'll go ahead and save that, and now you see the icon disappeared for our medium breakpoint, but as soon as we come back above it, it reappears. Okay, so that's a nice easy way of hiding components. The reason we're using our ternary statement here is so that we can actually conditionally put something else in its place. All right, so now we need to actually build the drawer that we're going to render instead of our tabs. To do that, we'll need to come up to the top and import a few more things. So let's go ahead and import the swipeable drawer from material-ui/core/swipeable drawer. Make sure you have the spelling correct on that. Then we're also going to import the list from material-ui/core-list. We're going to import the list item from material-ui/core/list-item, and import list item text from material-ui/core/list-item-text. Then here with our other images, let's go ahead and import menu from ... images/menu. We'll flip on over to the browser for a second and actually go over to the documentation and check out an example of the drawer component, just so we have an idea of what we're actually putting together. Okay, and if we scroll down to the swipeable section, this is going to be for our swipeable drawer, so that on mobile phones, they'll be able to just swipe the drawer away as you would expect. Okay, but here we can click buttons to show that the drawer can come in from the left side, the right side, the top, or the bottom of the screen. Okay, so this whole thing is our drawer, and we're going to use a list component for the actual content inside of our drawer. All right, so we can click away for that. And essentially all we're doing here is using the swipeable drawer component, and they have a little bit different configuration here because they set this up for multiple drawers all configured from the same piece of state. But all you need is the open prop and then pass it a piece of state, which is a Boolean determining whether or not the drawer should be open. So right now the drawer open is false, and now when I click it, drawer open is true. Okay, and so then to handle that, you also add an on close and an on open prop, and this will go ahead and set the state to false or true whenever it's closed or opened. All right, so pretty straightforward. The main reason I wanted to check this out is there's actually a consideration they mentioned here about performance on iOS and other mobile devices, and so they use special props here to make sure that everything works as optimally as possible, such as removing a certain transition if we're not on an iOS device. Okay, so I always stick to using this. So we're going to go ahead and copy the constant here. Go ahead and copy this. And again, this is here under the components section, and then navigation and drawer of Material UI. We'll go ahead and copy that const iOS. Let's bring this over into our header under our matches MD. We'll just put this right here. And now we can flip back, and we'll just need to make sure we also, let's copy this swipeable drawer right there. All right, just with those two props, the disable backdrop transition and disable discovery. So go ahead and copy this and flip back over to our code. And underneath our const of tabs, let's create a constant of drawer. Create this equal to a multi-line statement, and we'll start it off with our swipeable drawer that we just copied, but this was a self-closing tag. Let's go ahead and remove that slash so that we can now open it up. Inside of here, we can go ahead and we will use our list component to start this off. And I'm also going to add a prop to our list component, disable padding, and that will just get rid of some extra spacing that comes by default with the list. Okay, so the list is just useful for listing items out. It's a pretty self-explanatory component, but it follows a similar structure as most of the other Material UI components, where we have our base list, and then inside of here we have a list item, and then inside of the list item we have a list item text, and this will actually hold the text for the different tabs that we want displayed in our drawer. Okay, and actually the list item text, it's going to go ahead and be a self-closing tag. Okay, so this pattern right here of having a base component, and then the base component, and then another section, and then base component, section, and then functionality, that is very common throughout Material UI, so it is a structure you should get familiar with.